What is going on, guys? Mark here with Reaper Airsoft, and today I've got a G&G G2010. Now this is G&G's version of the FN2000. This was before licensing, hence the G2010. Now I've already pulled the gearbox out of the body, and if you guys don't know how to do that, inside the back here, see if I can get at least, this is a big thing. Inside the back here, this plate sits, and it actually slides up. What I do is I actually take out the top screw to help separate the body. There's two screws that hold the plate down. You just take those out, and then you can slide this back. You just pull it away from the body and then up to get it out of your way. From there, if you don't know how to take off the upper system, it's this little slide nut here. This is locked. If you push it over, you can unlock it, and you can pull apart the whole front end assembly. It just slides straight out, and you can pull out the inner barrel. And then what I do is I open up the dust cover for the hop-up unit and literally just take my finger and I push the gearbox straight back to get it out of the body. It's pretty simple to get everything out once it's done. It's like a P90, so if you guys have done P90s before, you already know how to do it. It's pretty straightforward. Now, this is probably the first FN that I've worked on in probably, I want to say 10 years now. It's been a little while. I truthfully don't know who made the last one I worked on because it's been so long, but I figured this is something unique, something different that I haven't seen enough every day that might as well take a video of disassembly of the gearbox, go over some of the stuff before I get it all upgraded and put back together to go up on a wall. It is a little more unique than the P90 gearbox itself. There's a couple different modifications. Normally the P90 trigger assembly is up here. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward box. If you guys have worked on these before yourself, you already get the concept of how everything works. Like I said, it is G&G. This actually does look like it's in great shape compared to some of the other stuff I've seen. And this is an older gun. This is probably, I believe the customer who sold this to us had this from original launch. This model did feature the quick change spring system. That way you can change out the springs faster. So, I mean, you know, G&G did some good stuff back in the day. Their stuff is getting better, so we'll see what this has inside, and we'll see how it held up over the years. Now, like I said, I don't know how much he's used this and how much wear and tear it's actually taken, but let's start taking it apart and see actually what it looks like inside. So, this is, like I said, this is probably the first one I've done in a very, very long time. Very long time. Looks like a 3. That's probably a 4. That is a number 4. With this setup, you may, don't quote me, you may be able to adjust the feet per second by adjusting this spring, well, this screw assembly, just because it threads in there. And I'm going to say, yeah, if it looks like you can adjust the feet per second. The tighter you go in, the higher your feet per second is going to be. So you can probably adjust this on the fly without actually having to change the spring assembly out, which is a nice thing. The spring guide, it is a proprietary spring guide. It is threaded, but it does seem to be made of a high quality steel. Let's get everything else going. We'll see what we got here. We're going to pull off the motor housing terminals. Let's take the motor housing off first. It looks like 3 screws hold the motor housing in. This one's going to be a longer screw just because it goes all the way through the trigger assembly too. And then you got 2 screws in the bottom. And it should allow us to pull the motor housing straight back and out of the way. What's nice is since the spring is out, we're not going to have any of the tension on the gearboxes. We got to take it all apart. So there we go. There's some dirt in there. It is to be expected with a gun this old. Like I said, this gun is now 6 years old, so I have no complaints on how much dirt is on the grease, which it's actually not even too dirty, to be honest with you. We're going to pull apart the whole trigger assembly. And I'd like to take a look at the contacts to see how the contacts have held up. So I know I got one screw in the back. There's probably a screw here that's going to hold it all in. Like I said, this is the first time I've taken one of these apart in a long time. So I am going as I see it, guys. There we go. So the only two screws that really hold the trigger housing in place are the rear one and your motor housing piece. So I'm going to put this screw back in place just so I don't lose it and it's not out of the way. Now looking at the trigger contacts, they're actually quite clean for what I expected them to be. The P90 in general ends up generating a lot of arcing with the way their trigger is because of the two-stage trigger system. This one is typically a semi-auto, and then this one is your full auto. This one will actually, the bottom one will disengage on semi-auto use, and then the top one is normally your constant on until you let go of that trigger. This is great because if you do a lot of semi-auto and you start corroding these up, your full auto setup will still be there and you can still function even though you have a lot of corrosion going on. Wire-wise, nothing special wire-wise. You can tell it's older wire, it's stiff, it's in place, it's locked in nice and tight, but still does the job. The contacts look pretty decent. I'm not going to complain about the contacts. I'm going to take off the cutoff lever now. We'll set the cutoff lever screw there. And guys, always be aware of your spring for your cutoff levers. Don't lose them. Sometimes these things are such a pain in the ass to replace and or find if they go flying that you really don't want to lose it. Hey, Jim's here. Cutoff lever looks pretty dirty, but it is what it is. It's an old gun. Alright, like I said, cutoff lever looked pretty good. We got two screws remaining, then we got the top slide plate. I'm going to try and tap this off just real quick without messing with it too much. I don't want to dick with it. I don't like these things that much, but it is what it is. Do I have a bigger? I'll use this one. There we go. And while I was doing that, I seem to have hit the anti-reversal latch, which I don't think I did, but it did release. So I wonder if there's an aftermarket anti-reversal latch release, which I don't see anything. Maybe I just bumped it a certain way and it released it. These things are always a pain in the ass, and that's the reason why. You got to get them far enough down so you can grab them and pull them off, and sometimes they're so tight that it makes it unbearable to grab and even mess with. And in the case of this one, it is extremely long. So we're going to see if I can slide it. Don't cut yourself doing this stuff, guys. As you can see, they're on there tight, they're snug. I dropped mine on the floor. We're going to take out the last two springs, and we're going to go check it inside. Front, back are the only two left that's really holding it. And if I remember correctly, on these, this should actually be an individual piece itself, which makes it nice because then it's not something, if you do strip it out, it's not end of the world. You can sort of replace it if you can find a replacement, but we'll see. Like I said, it's been a little while for me. It is, see? This is removable, so it's not the end of the world if you strip this out. It's kind of hard to strip that out, but you can strip them out. Now be careful when you take this up so you don't lose the tappet plate spring, because the spring is not a pull spring, it is actually a push spring. And it's actually a good thing we took this apart. We actually have some stripping right on the last two teeth right here, and it is dirty. So we're actually gonna chuck that piston, get rid of it. There is a lot of nasty shit right on the sector gear, so all those need scrubbed. The sector gear does look like it is intact. I don't see any stripped teeth. Bevel gear looks relatively good. Doesn't look like there's much wear. And then the spur gear actually looks pretty decent too. Now this is G&G's older generation gear sets. I'm not too big of a fan of these gear sets, but they do the job. The only thing that really needs replaced in this one, like I said, is the piston, so I'll swap out the piston. Everything else is pretty straightforward and simple. This is one of the easier gearboxes to work with because you can get the spring out initially. You don't have to worry about the trigger really lining up because everything comes out. That right there is idiotic. I don't know why they have the vent aiming straight down. You're just going to get some nasties up in your cylinder. So I'll give all this stuff a cleaning and a scrub. Get it all put back together and get it running again. But you know, give you guys an idea of teardown of the G&G G2010, aka the FN2000 gearbox. Overall, good build. Old gun. Probably had a couple 100,000 rounds put through it, but hey, it's held up. You guys have a good day, and if you could, like, subscribe, and share. I'd appreciate it.